Hey everybody, today is all about the 10 steps of the buying process.
Welcome to Community Real Estate Roots, Agents Building Relationships, where we explore the heart of real estate through meaningful connections. Join Alicia, Deidre, and Lisa as they guide you through stories behind every sold sign and dive into how agents nurture communities, one home and one relationship at a time.
Hi, guys.
Hi, welcome back everyone.
Yeah. Did you make it through the madness of the snow?
I looked at it from my window.
Yeah, me too.
I stepped outside for about 30 seconds to take a couple of pictures of the kids playing and ran back in.
Yeah.
That was the extent of mine. I took pictures of the dogs playing for less than 10 minutes.
Mine were not playing. She was not having it.
Really?
So the good news is she wanted to go out less.
My dog is
Nora.
part lab and part golden retriever, and she was all about
Oh,
it.
yeah. They run through that stuff like like they're on some type of drug. Like it's a drug that keeps them going.
So excited. If it would have been deeper, it would have been better for her.
Yeah, they were throwing snowballs, and she was jumping in the air trying to catch them. It was great. She did that on New Year's when the fireworks were going off. We were shooting fireworks, and he was jumping up at the sky trying to.
Oh, no. Mine are drugged.
He was like living his best life.
They have to be drugged for that. So, but welcome to 2025.
Yes. So back to work.
Back to work.
Back on a normal schedule.
I don't think we ever stopped working, though, honestly.
I know.
I mean, we didn't, but
I didn't.
for the longest, I just didn't know what day it was.
Yeah.
That's how it is when Byron's out of school. I'm like, what day is it?
Yeah, it was like that the week after Christmas. I was like that because we were off in the middle and then back, and I'm like, I don't even know what day it is. But we know what today is, and today is we want everyone to understand what it is to buy a home.
How do you buy a home?
Yeah, because a lot of people don't really know all the steps.
They just know the glorified steps of just looking at all the pretty houses.
Yes.
They do not know what goes on past that.
I have one now that I'm working with, and really good, solid, a really good, solid buyer. And I said, so, he goes, well, I will finish up my other stuff with my banker. He has a banker. Once we decide, and I said, and that's fine. Just please let him know that when you fall in love with one and you want me to write a contract, I have to have it then. I can't send the contract without it.
Without their approval.
Without the approval. So guess what step one is in the buying process?
Getting pre-approved.
Getting pre-approved.
Yep.
So,
Because nothing is worse than falling in love with a house you can't afford.
Right? I've had to have that conversation so many times. They'll be like, looking at a $500,000 house, and it is gorgeous, but they're on a $300,000 budget.
Right.
And it's, not to be rude, but it's a waste of their time. It's a waste of our time. So I think that pre-approval really kind of gives you expectations of what you can look at.
well, and when you go with suggested or preferred lender, especially one that's local. So if you need to go meet with them in person, you can. You're not having to talk to somebody on the phone that's in California.
And 3 different time zones away.
Yes, and doesn't even know anything about the state of Alabama. They just do that. But the interesting part about step one is most of the time you'll get a buyer that will say, no, I'm pre-qualified. We want them pre-approved.
Because there is a difference.
So what is the difference?
Yeah, see, I didn't know there was a difference until I became a realtor.
Yeah. No, most
So most people don't.
No, they don't. But there is a big difference. So pre-qualified is I went online in the middle of a football game, halftime was here, and I just I answered these 5 questions online, and I got this message back that says, you're pre-qualified for this amount of money. So, hooray! All you did was give them 2 or 3 points that says, okay, they could possibly
Purchase
buy a house.
But it wasn't verified.
It wasn't verified. That's the important part. So when you're doing a loan process, you honestly know you're with a really good lender when the prompt through the application process asks you to upload your W-2s. It asks you to load up your last 2 bank statements, and it's super easy to do. You can get them online now and just send them over. There may be 1 or 2 things that you can't get your hands on, but try to upload as many of those documents to be verified. So they not only get your application, but they look at, does this match what they're telling me? Because how many times have you gotten a buyer and, to your point, they want to buy a $500,000 house because they did the 3 steps online. Pre-qualification. And now this is what I can purchase. And then you ask them, say, well, did you give the lender any documents? Have you talked to the lender? What's the answer usually?
No.
No.
It's kind of like the same thing. You're always getting these things in the mail. You're pre-qualified for these credit cards. Anybody and their mom is pre-qualified to get that.
Everybody
until
is.
you actually
Right.
do the
Yeah.
application.
They want you to do the application. And the second important piece to this step, which really goes hand in hand with the first one, is who do they need? It almost needs to be 2 needs to be 1 and 1 needs to be 2, in my opinion.
Well, it does interchange in
Yeah.
a lot of scenarios.
So number 2 is an agent. They need us.
So me.
Yeah, pick me.
No, me.
Yes.
Me. No,
No,
me. Because more than likely, the agent you pick, a really good agent that has really great resources, is going to be able to give you 2 or 3 resources from a lending perspective. One may better suit you for the type of loan that you need to get because they have more experience in it. You may be a VA person that needs a VA expert. So if you already have that agent and you're already in that communication, they normally can say, this lender right here he's a veteran himself. He does a great job. He can walk you through this and get you all those extra papers because there's more paperwork with a VA loan, right?
Absolutely.
And can do that and still get you through an approval process.
Yeah, because when you talk to an agent, we can help you decide if, hey, well, maybe getting a new home is more beneficial to you. And in that case, you want to go with their preferred lender, not just your bank.
Yeah,
or
new
something like that.
construction.
So, yeah.
Yeah, new construction. There's some big pluses sometimes with going with their preferred lender or their, some like Dale Horton, they have their own in-house lender. So, but your agent will help you make that
Decision.
will help you make
it.
those decisions. So, important to interview your agent. Even if your best friend of your best friend that you went to middle school and high school with, but you haven't seen in 10 years, is a realtor, you still need to interview that person. Are they going to be a fit with you? Is the communication style going to be good? Are they knowledgeable?
Do they mesh well? I mean, there are people that may mesh better with Deidre than they do with me.
Right.
I mean, you've got to
Right.
just make sure that relationship is going to work between
Right.
the 2 of you to move forward.
So I think I talked to you about that. All of a sudden, so my profile's on realtor.com. I don't pay for leads or anything like that, but my profile is there. So depending on what they're looking for, well, all of a sudden there's people looking in Shelby County because I probably got 5 pops over the weekend.
Wow.
For realtor.com with the agent piece. And, some work, some not. I had one that wants to sell a lot off of Smoky Road, but I can't find the lot in any kind of. The last thing I said, I just need you to send me a photo ID and the address, and I can send it to the title company. Never heard from him again. But I did pick up a buyer out of California that's moving this way, and they don't like to talk to you on the phone when you first, they want to text or email or whatever. So, and when they respond back, you're like, okay, well then this may be okay. So we responded back and forth, and I asked him a bunch of questions. I'm like, so you're coming from California? And I gave a laundry list of questions. I said, this will help me serve you better. And he sent me a text yesterday. He said, I just want you to know that it seems like you know your stuff and you really love your business.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I do. He said, you've asked me questions that nobody's asked me. I said, well, you're moving a long way, and
You want to get it right.
It's a lot different than where you're coming from.
there's a lot I'm going to have to do up front to pick and find what he wants before he climbs on an airplane and comes to Alabama. So picking an agent is so important. Yes. Would one of us love to be your agent? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, don't just take anybody.
Yeah, because some agents may not want to do all that work.
Right.
They may not want to do.
Well, and they may not
look for your best interest of what we're really.
Yes.
And they may not have the time. Like, I'm not trying to cut anyone down, but there are part-time real estate agents, and they're working other full-time jobs. They may not have the time to invest in your home journey search that we could, because we do this full-time.
Or they may not really service the area that you're looking in,
Sure.
so they're not acknowledgeable about it. And for me, when I'm, interchanging on text or whatever, I'll usually start out by saying, I live in Calera. I'm super, super familiar with it. This guy was looking in Alabaster. I said, very familiar. I know what neighborhoods to look at for you. So if you have an agent that can't tell you something about where you want to find a house, that's a red flag. So just be careful with that. Or just call one of us, and you won't have to worry about any of that. So good lender, good agent. Now we get to go shopping.
The fun part.
Yes, the absolutely fun part. I think it's so funny how many Zillow notifications you get when they're looking, and then how many of them have the word pending in the MLS when we get there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think even they don't even know the difference sometimes between because I've gotten several houses that have been sent to me, and they're like, hey, can we go see these? And I'm looking, and they're like, they're all under contract.
Right.
So no, we can't, unfortunately, but they don't know the difference.
Well, and most of the time on Zillow, you can't see it
Yeah.
unless it may be, most of the time it's not even there, but you have to look like really hard to be able to see if it's active or not. But it's so funny to go, but it was on Zillow. And I went, Zillow is just a marketing-based company that pulls everything off of your local MLSs. Without the MLS, they couldn't.
They don't update in real time. And
No,
they don't care to update.
No, they don't. They don't. It's just not their system. It doesn't make them bad. It's just that's not what the system is made for. Now, Realtor.com and some of those are more up to date, and you kind of said that. But to your point, they see it and they don't know.
Right.
They don't know what it means, or they'll send you a text and go, "So what's pending mean?" I go, "It's pending to closing. It's already under contract."
Right.
But I tell them to still send it to me.
We can watch it and see
Well,
what
we can
happens.
see what you like, too.
Yes, it gives me an idea of what they're looking for, and then be able to send them.
Well, even in that case, like I had literally last night, I had a client reach out and say, hey, that house is back up for sale. And I was like, I hadn't gotten the notification yet. So I looked at it and it was, Within 2 minutes, the agent texted me, "Hey, I knew your client wanted to see this, but it was already under contract. It's already back up for sale." So they told me the buyer got cold feet, but now we're scheduled to go look at it, and hopefully they'll like it and we can get it
Yeah.
contract.
That'd be great.
I call that is the situation that was meant to be. I just came out of a transaction that took forever to close that I can highlight some stuff as we get further through this, that anything to happen, but we closed it last week.
Wow.
Yeah, I closed at a different title company, and even the lender was local, but this is kind of a caveat going back to the lending process. So just because you have a local lender that says ABC Lending and a Birmingham address, it doesn't mean they're the lender. They could be a brokerage. So a brokerage has a portfolio of lenders that they're going to sell your transaction to, which is fine. All your transactions get sold at some point in time,
Oh, yeah.
unless it's maybe a credit union or whatever. So that part is not, what the big deal is, but you're still, someone is handling your file that does not live here locally.
Yep.
They live away, and you're just trusting that this guy has been in business and only uses people that he trusted. And he had used this lender before, but obviously they had gotten a new processor and underwriter, and the underwriter, when it was all said and done, about a 4-week period, just for that, there were 32 conditions that had to be met.
32 conditions.
32. Started at
Strike
12.
a
Only like
match
a
and burn it down
32%
and start
process.
over. Jeez Louise.
Started with 12, sent all that back. When you sent the answer to those, they came up with like
20 more.
5 more. No, on that we went through this like I don't
my
know
gosh.
how many chances, and I had the list side in this transaction, so obviously we want to take care of the buyer, but it's on me to take care of the seller for that. And finally, after the second extension with it, I said, okay, everybody needs to get on the phone.
Yeah.
So myself, the other agent, and the girl with the lending company that handles the processor and stuff like that, we were all on the phone. It was a USDA loan, which had nothing to do with it being USDA, by the way. But I knew enough about the process to ask the questions. And then I'd get an answer, and the next day there were 2 more conditions. I said, okay, I don't understand why you're just not sending this to USDA. You're saying they won't sign off on it, but you don't know that because you haven't sent it. I said, please just send it. Just send it. If they come back with a condition, we'll meet the
address it.
condition. But right now, this person is assuming
Yeah.
that somebody wants something, and this person is holding the power himself when he's not the one that gives the okay for the loan. And I said, guys, I'm trying to be as nice as possible, but I'm telling you right now, this has to go to USDA, or we're not going to meet the final extension. And I can tell you my seller's going to lose her house that she's going to. So it was like 2 days before New Year's Eve, they finally sent it, which was, too close. I knew it wasn't going to come back like fast
After the
then
New Year.
because it was going to be after the New Year. But the Monday, New Year's Eve was on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday morning, I got the phone call, and I see the name come up on my phone, and I'm like, shh. Good morning. do I like you or not like you?
Tell me good news.
She says, we have a clear to close.
I told
Which is
you.
great news.
I'm
I
like,
think you want to say I told
because you
you.
sent it, you know? But the lender said at the closing, when we were at the closing, Hannah did our closing, and, you know, she goes, you guys did a good job putting this in. And she goes, no, that lady right there, she said, send it to USDA and we'll figure it out when it comes back. And finally, because I called the owner of the company and I said, listen, send it.
Mm-hmm.
You're letting someone that doesn't do USDA loans every single day
Mm-hmm.
make a decision on what somebody else is thinking.
Right.
Just send it. And if it comes back, it comes back. But sure, if they got it back that fast and it come back at clear to close.
Wow.
Nice.
Just wanted to go, really. So, lenders and agents make a really, you know, a really good thing. So, anyway, those things can happen. And we're going to have more conversation on that. So, we found a house. And now we're
Making an offer.
making an offer. So what's your process that you go through when we all have our own little,
So my process, if I'm on obviously the buying side, I like to connect with the listing agent. I like to find out what is important to the seller because believe it or not, it's not always price.
Yeah.
It may
No.
be that we can close 3 weeks versus 4 weeks.
Right.
There's so many things that you can work out, and just sometimes talking to the listing agent and finding out what's important to the seller can help you in the offer process.
absolutely.
100%. I do that every time.
Yeah, I send a text every time that says what's most important to your seller.
But you'd be amazed at who don't. Like I woke up, I am under contract, but I had a listing here in Alabaster, and I've had several showings on it. And I woke up, I think it was Thursday morning, not just checking my email, and I had an offer sitting in my email. Didn't hear from anybody. Didn't even realize that
They didn't text you,
they
say, hey,
didn't-
I'm sending you an
didn't
offer. or
at
anything?
all. If it would have gone to junk mail, I probably would have never seen it.
Wow.
So that's
Yeah, communication
is huge.
is huge for everyone. Every single one of these steps you hear us talking about, there's another person involved. That if that one person doesn't do their step, I call it the dominoes, you can start to have the dominoes fall back. And that's, I'm going to go back to another good agent and lender is, you know, sometimes your agent has to carry the whole thing just because we owe it to our buyer to get to the closing table. So whatever we need to do to get there, that needs to happen. So
And another good reason for communication is the other agent may be brand spanking new.
Yeah.
They may not have a clue
they
what's
may
important.
not.
And by
They may
you
not.
asking, it may trigger them, hey, you know, what is important to you? What
Yeah.
would be a good,
Right.
you know.
Right.
It makes the teamwork start to happen.
Well, and
And that's
everyone
exactly
needs
what
to
it is.
everyone needs to realize that our goal, even on both sides, is always getting our client to the closing table.
Yeah, that's it. And that's on this situation I was in. That's what I said about to send it to USDA. I was like, the end of the day, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It's about the person that's going to sign off on it. And right now, that's USDA, and we got to get these people to the closing table. And that is the only thing that all of us are working towards at this point. So you're starting a contract, but then it talks about negotiation.
So everything is really negotiable.
Everything.
People think it's just the price. Everything's negotiable.
It's a contract.
It is, and you can negotiate all of it. Closing costs, you can negotiate closing date, the price, earnest money. I mean, all of it.
Right.
What you leave, I had a closing that they had a whole grill and all the whole like Mac Daddy set up in the backyard, sink, all the
Mac
thing.
Daddy. I need to see that set up, Mac Daddy.
It was a great setup. But then they were having problems getting the finance for everything. It's like, okay, well, then we're going to take the TV back. We're going to take this back and lower it. So, I mean, everything's negotiable. Even, hey, well, we're not going to pay 3% for your agent's commission.
Yeah.
If you can't come up with this, we're going to have to knock it down to 2% or whatnot. And everything's negotiable.
Yeah, everything's negotiable. And it's not just negotiable on the contract. It could be negotiating once we get through a couple of more steps here. There's other things that's going to happen through the process. Mm-hmm. You've all agreed upon this, but there's other things that's going to happen that could change what the original agreement needs to be. But I want to say something about buyer's compensation because there still seems to be some uncertainty out there about what does that really mean. So you're buying a home. You did a buyer agency agreement. In that agreement, it is reviewed how much that brokerage fee is for your service. So it's a brokerage compensation. It's not an agent. Unfortunately, we don't get
Right. No.
we don't get all that money.
Get to go home
I know
with that pretty check that is handed to us.
Yeah.
It looks good, but it does not come home with us.
It looks really good. I had somebody looking at us, their eyes got really big. I said, "Don't worry, this is not mine."
Although I did earn this.
I did earn it, but it's not. It's not all mine, for sure. But it's just you have to be able. I'm going to go back to communication. You have to be able to communicate with each other on all the things that you want to talk about. And again, really the harder part is what gets down to the last four steps of this. But we have made an offer. Alicia, you kind of touched on it in having the conversation because I'll read what it actually says. It says, you and your agent will discuss the price and terms that you would like to submit. So we're at that spot. But then the offer has so many other things in there that you can make some decisions on. So if you have an agent and they're only asking you, oh, well, what would you like to offer? And that's the end of the questions. Please understand your contract. Whatever contract you're signing for, if you have any questions, you need to ask those questions. It's okay.
We encourage questions.
Yes, absolutely.
If you don't understand, we want to make sure that you do.
And if you think you understand and you go home and you realize, what did she say? Call us back.
Right. Well, I always tell them when I send it through, we use DocuSign. So when I send it through DocuSign, I always say, please read and sign. If you have any questions, do not sign. Call me and we will walk through those steps. I had a young couple, just loved them. Because sometimes young ones, they attach to themselves to you really quickly. So all of a sudden there's this big trust thing that happens, which is great. You want your clients to feel like that, right? So I sent everything. I called them. They had already had a blank copy of the contract that we had talked about some things. And I said, okay, I've sent it through DocuSign. You'll both get your emails to sign. Read through the steps that we talked about that were all the most important ones. And then if you have any questions, call me or sign it. I want you to know that DocuSign was back to me less 3 minutes.
Like that.
Oh, yeah.
I called him up. I said, you did not read any of that. And he calls me Miss Lisa. He said, Miss Lisa, it's fine.
We trust you.
I'm like, okay, you just need to know because your signature's on it. It's fine. Now, we're not going to let anything...
No. But we still want you to be aware of what you're signing.
Right. Well, in fact, especially first-time buyers in this process, you want to educate them because this is probably not going to be their first and last real estate transactions because they buy this house with one kid, and all of a sudden, in 2.5 years, they have a total of 3 kids, and the house is busting at the
seams.
at the seams. So you want them to feel comfortable, one, calling you back, but understanding what that next process is going to do. Anything else in making the offer part?
Well, just let them understand. Help them to understand. Yeah, this is what we're negotiating right now. But when it comes back and we have the inspections, there's going to be more negotiations.
Which is next.
This is not the final.
Say.
Yeah, it's not the final rough draft.
Right.
It's just the beginning of the rough draft. So.
And I think the other part that sometimes is not explained is that contract's on a timeline. There's sections of the contract that you've negotiated and you've agreed upon that has to be done in a timeline.
Yep.
And you mentioned inspection. Inspection's one of them. If you agree to 7 days from the time the contract is finalized and all P's have agreed, then you have 7 days, and you've got to be, it can't be on day 8.
Right.
You could have a seller that said, no, you're not doing an inspection. And they don't have to let you. The other big one is insurance. They think, oh, well, we can do that later because we're going to do that with the lender. So anyway, just be careful and ask questions. So inspection, but appraisal is the big one for a lender. Most buyers don't understand that the appraisal is the final number that comes in. So make sure you talk to your agent a lot about that. But once we get through all that, really the last 3 steps are the most fun part. Yeah. There's some pre-closing things that we'll go over and make sure everybody's set up for closing. The closing itself, that's when the ownership of the title is transferred to you. And now it's time to move in and unpack and have your new home.
Start paying that mortgage.
Start paying that mortgage.
Guess what? It'll be due soon.
Yep. So 10 easy steps. 3 or 4 of them are a huge focus, but that's how you're going to get into your new home.
And if you have an agent that's going to walk you through, it's going to be easy breezy.
Should be an education.
Yep.
Yes.
All right.
Should be fun.
It should be fun.
It should always be fun.
Yeah.
Scary, but fun.
Okay. So until next time.
Until next time, we will see y'all later.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Thanks for listening. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Your Neighbor, Your Agents. Please visit www.yourneighboryouragents.com.